a lot of people don't know this about me, but when I started touring, I started headlining right off the bat. So it was hard tickets out the gate, and I've had the ability to build a cult fan base, and I've been blessed with the ability to sell tickets off the start.
You getting on okay here?
Oh, 100%. Like I said to you, I had 2 steaks for lunch today, so keeping my diet pretty much regimented to what I was doing back in the U.S. before I came over here. I got to stay regimented because the shirt comes off on stage. So
yes.
Yeah.
Now, funnily enough, you should say that because we were going through some pictures in the office earlier on, waiting for you to come here, and a couple of the women, I have to say, were pretty impressed. So I just thought I'd pass that on to you.
I appreciate that. You can tell them I appreciate it, and it helps pay the bills. So
Absolutely. I'm wondering as well that we're spoiled these days with so many different country artists coming our way. 10 years ago, you'd get somebody come along and then another 3 or 4 months, somebody else. Now it's like a constant, and it's brilliant for us. And country has taken off so much here, compared to how it used to. But how does someone like you decide to make the effort? Because there's enough venues in the States, right? So what drives you to come here?
Well, I think a big thing for me is when I first started putting out music, the big thing that my label noticed right off the bat was my international numbers on whether it was over here, whether it was in Canada or in Australia. So looking at my streaming numbers and my metrics, it was like, hey, there's an audience out there that we need to go feed. So we did what like anyone else would do. We built the fan base in the U.S., and we were just in Canada for my first ever headlining tour last spring. And then for me coming over here, it was kind of like a now or never kind of a thing, because with how big the rooms are getting in the U.S., it's hard once you get past that certain threshold to get people to want to go ahead and say, okay, we're going to go to one bus and we're going to go do the song and dance. But all things considering, it's super cool because like it's a packed house right now. We're on one tour bus. It's about 15 of us. We call it like the skeleton crew. Just the bare essentials, what we need. But when we go back to the U.S., we're going to be in 3 tour buses, 2 trailers, and we're going into some pretty big rooms. But I really can't complain. To be the first time over here, to skip room sizes, to be playing in front of sold-out crowds, in front of 1,200, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 is absolutely nothing but a blessing from the good Lord.
And like you say, for the UK, this is just the beginning for you.
Yeah.
I mean, but isn't that really interesting? You've gone up the scale in the States, and you almost have to come back a few levels to does that mess you around at all or not?
I don't think it messes around with me at all. I just got off a tour with Jelly Roll back in the U.S., and I was just on stage playing in front of 15, 16, 17,000 people night after night. But it was, of course, the direct support slot, and it wasn't my show. So that was a whole kind of a shift for me as an artist as well, because a lot of people don't know this about me, but when I started touring, I started headlining right off the bat. So it was hard tickets out the gate, and I've had the ability to build a cult fan base, and I've been blessed with the ability to sell tickets off the start. So to be able to come over here and see the work paying dividends over here has been awesome.
And how does that work as an artist as well? Because you're very much your own man. You've just spelled that out there and from the beginning, right? But then you are playing as a support. Obviously, it's a great exposure before Jelly Roll or whoever.
Yeah.
Do you have to play it a different way when it's not your gig, so to speak, or do you just do your thing?
Yeah, everyone does it differently. Obviously, always make sure to show love to whoever you're out with. Make sure you make a moment of it to show your appreciation and your gratitude. And I made sure to do that every single night. But when I'm on that stage and I have my 45 minutes, that's my stage.
Yeah.
And that is my opportunity to play for those fans that bought tickets to see me specifically and to win that crowd over. And honestly, to get the crowd ready for him to get on stage.
Yeah.
If you're a good opener, you're going to get that crowd juiced.
Yeah. Well, obviously, it's working for you so far. Now, you got a new album coming soon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the new album is called Relapse, Lies, and Betrayal, coming out March 14th. I previously released the first part of the project, I want to say at the end of the summer in August. And for me, we called it The Project because we were hinting to people, this is just part 1, there's more coming. But for this album, the title track, obviously, first title being Relapse, is our heavy presence right now. We're currently here playing the Relapse tour. We go back to the U.S. We play the Relapse tour there. So that's kind of where my focus is right now, as well as our lead single at country radio back in the U.S. So when it comes to marketing and all that stuff, that's how my brain operates and works, because we just got off of the Pretty Little Poison tour, which just currently went #1 last year for my first #1 song. So I think about all those minute details when it comes to album titles, track listing, all that stuff. Now, the Lies and Betrayal thing, Betrayal's been out for a second now. But those 3 songs specifically and those titles are some that I relate with quite heavily on this upcoming album. Betrayal was something that I went through this past year, having to say goodbye to someone that I trusted and loved, and kind of like stab in the back, I would say. So definitely something I carry with me. Don't trust a lot of people. I got a small circle in my world, and it's worked well for me. But it's a huge wake up call. Relapse, I always like to talk about because it was a girl in my life that it wasn't meant to be. But I'm 25 years old. I wrote it from a youthful standpoint of, we might not be made for each other, but whenever we see each other, we're just too good looking to say no to one another for another roll around in the hay. So, and I've had fans even here being like, I had a guy last night, sometimes after the show, I'll go out and sign stuff. And this guy was like, dude, I think Relapse is going to be my song that's going to help me get my ex back. I'm like, man, I hope it works for you. I hope it works out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, and then Lies is the new track that no one's heard yet that'll be released with the album. That was quite an easy song to write for me, just because in a world that we live in right now where social media is so prevalent, and I'm so thankful for it because that's how I've garnered my success and I've built a fan base. But I realize that why I've had so much success is because there's a lot of authenticity through my branding, how I present myself and how I want to be represented. And now more than ever, that's what people want, because you hop on social media and you see the highlights, you see all the stuff, and you can get in your own head and you can be like, oh, why isn't my life like this? Or all this stuff, and you start to kind of get down on yourself. But that being said, I try to be real and authentic as I possibly can be. But I've been through relationships these last couple of years since starting to do this, and I've dealt with the lies behind my back and all that stuff. So to wrap it all up in a nice bow, Relapse, Lies, and Betrayal. The reason why I title it that way too is because it's a heavy-hitting title, and when you go ahead and read that out, even if you're not a fan of mine, you're going to read that and you're going to ask the question, what is this body of art about?
Absolutely. Well, that is the perfect explanation for, as you call it, the project. And there will be an awful lot of people who will be able to relate to, if not all of what you've said, a lot of what you've said. So straight away, you're onto a bit of a winner there.
Yeah.
You also strike me, because we get a lot of people coming through here, obviously, when they're on tour. You strike me as somebody who is particularly, you mentioned earlier, into the detail, but particularly on it, in charge of your own. Is that easier or harder, like from the record company point of view? Do you really want to, this is my thing?
I think that it's actually easier, and I've gotten nothing but compliments from people at my label that work with me, because a lot of the people that are on my team say I'm one of the hardest working individuals in the music industry because of how much I care about my craft and my art. And I think about, again, like you said, the details when it comes to marketing on social media, talking about talking points. How's my show represented? How am I connecting with the fans? How am I leaving them with not just I went to a country concert, I went and saw a performance, but I had an experience.
Yeah.
Something that connects with them in a way where I'm not just leaving a fan. I was already a fan. I'm now a ride or die. I'm a fan for life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what he does. I want to follow along on this journey.
Yeah. Well, you're making me very much look forward to the gig as well with all this talk. But it sounds like, it's working for you so far. So I want to wish you the very best of luck with it, and especially the new album as well.
Thank you.